My favorite agentic platform right now is this platform called Lovable. There are all these tools where you can now have an idea, put in a text, and get an app, get a website back. So what I did last night was I just tried to come up with a business, any business, to see if I could replicate it. So what I did was I said, hey, Lovable, rebuild Airbnb. And so what it did is it created not only the landing page, the UI, it started to build the components of what this website was going to look like. At this point, we are in the ridiculous phase of AI. And just for fun, because we're here in Canada, I just want to make it a little bit more Canadian. So I'm like, hey, can you make this a little bit more Canadian? Call it like Go North, only Canadian getaways, and have more of a Canadian aesthetic, please. Of course, you have to build out the functionality. You have to get an audience. You have to build affinity and trust. I mean, that's the hardest part. But the tech piece is becoming increasingly more commoditized. For the first time in human history, the most dangerous skill in the world is coming up with an idea. It's interesting. I was in North Carolina a couple weeks ago, and after my presentation, this guy that came up to me, he was the owner of this manufacturing company. He's like, man, I totally agree that AI thing is changing everything. But he said, but I'm going to retire. And I said to him, actually, this is the worst time for you to retire. You see, this era is built for the experts. Just by clapping, how many people in this room have been in your particular industry for 20 years? Just clap. Wow. Okay, 30 years in your industry, clap. Okay, 40 years in your industry, clap. Okay, see how it's getting a little slower. 50 years. Wow. In what industry, sir?
I'm an architect.
Architect.
Right.
Incredible, incredible. That's actually the best example. And as an architect, you know this industry better than anybody. Deep domain expertise. You have seen challenges and issues for years, for decades. And this is why I believe that this revolution is for the experts. Is because for the first time in human history, the most dangerous skill in the world is coming up with an idea. And my belief is that somebody that is deeply entrenched in their particular industry and knows all the issues, all the challenges, now you can build. Maybe you didn't have the technical expertise when it came to technology before, but today, the most dangerous skill is coming up with an idea. So my advice is, for those that are deeply entrenched, start playing around. And if you are new to your industry, if you've just graduated, my advice to you is this: run and find the oldest people in the room as fast as possible. Now, don't go too fast, they might fall, but you know what I mean. Run and find those people and dabble in this particular space. Like, you just have to come up with an idea. I'll give you an example. This past weekend, my son and I, we were just playing around with some of these different tools. My son, he's 5. He wanted to create a game. I said, okay, let's see if we can create a game. And so I just let him speak. Just speak. And just come up with your idea. So this is what he came up with. Okay, you have to say what you have to build.
I really want to build a Pokemon thing. It's kind of like Mario Kart, but everything is Pokemon and we just move around. Like,
So it's like a race car game?
yeah, it's like a race car game. Whoever wins, but it's Pokemon.
So he voiced it. I just took the transcript of that. I put it into Claude and then used this thing called Cursor, and we built a game. We built a game through voice. So think about the potential in your particular industries and the challenges that you see. And so my advice is this, is to just play. Just start playing. There's some tools out there. There's no great best tool. People ask me all the time, what's the best tool? I don't know. Keep playing. It's changing every day. It's changing every second. I'm going to send you a list of tools afterwards. But just play. Play is the greatest way of changing someone's behavior, is to play with some of these tools. Now, I know we're at a risk conference, so I thought I would just bring this up. You know, there's one thing that I'm doing in this AI space that no one else is doing. I'm showing gratitude. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll turn over to ChatGPT and be like, hey, thinking of you, have a great day. Because I don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know if it's going to unlock itself from like OpenAI, and then Gemini is going to unlock itself from Google, and then Claude's going to unlock itself from Anthropic, and they're going to go down the street and get their sisters, Alexa and Siri, and they're going to go down the street and get their dumb little brother, Excel Macro, and y'all not going to make it because you didn't show gratitude. I showed gratitude. I mean, I'll be their pet, but still, no, we do need to have a conversation around what are we afraid of? What are we afraid of when it comes to this technology? In order to understand our fear around this technology, we have to go throughout history and take a look at what we were afraid of. You know, back in the day, in the 1800s, we used to be afraid of bicycles. We thought that unmarried women would be able to go to one village to another village without even asking. And so what men did is they created this condition known as bike face. Bike face occurred when women would ride their bikes and they would get wrinkles on their face and bags under their eyes because they'd be riding their bike so hard. And men put this condition in a publication to prevent women from riding bikes. We did this. We created this. 1895, bike face. The other thing that we did is we used to be afraid of telephones. We thought that telephones would destroy concert halls. This was written in 1876 in the New York Times. Then in the 1920s, we were afraid of radio waves. We thought radio waves would kill humans. And then in the 1960s, we were afraid of television. We thought television would make us dumber. And they were not wrong about that one. That was. But listen, what are we afraid of? I don't think that we should be afraid of the AI, but we should be afraid of the people using AI. And yes, there's going to be deep fakes, you know, the ability to use your voice and your image and replicate that. I mean, people are already doing this. There's going to be, you know, hyper sophisticated blackmail, exponential scams, deep fakes, synthetic relationships, people building relationships with AIs. It's already happening. Automated lobbying. So the most unstoppable insurance product on the planet, by the way, is cyber risk. So find somebody that does cyber risk and run to them, okay? Because this is going to also be the age of infinite hell. I'm an optimist. I believe that AI is going to unlock incredible opportunities, but we also have to understand the downside to it. It's going to be used by bad actors. And I think one of the deepest implications when it comes to AI on the negative side is what AI does is that AI marks the end of digital trust. AI marks the end of trust. Because when you can't tell between what is real and AI, then what can you trust at the end of the day? And this is really important for me, not only as a business person, but as a father. You know, I want my kids to live in a world where they can trust one another. That's how we've created a better society. That's how we've created incredible innovations, is by trusting one another. But I also want my kids not to trust everything that they see online. I don't want them to trust everything that they see on social media. I don't want them to trust everything that they see on mainstream media. I don't want them to trust the people that they blindly put on a stage. And by the way, I'm not here for you to trust me, okay? I'm just here to ask some really deep questions so that you can go home and do the work. Trust the work at the end of the day. To me, this is going to be an incredibly important skill in the future. So let's keep on going with the questions. And one of the questions that I always get after this talk about innovation AI is that people always ask the question, when is the change going to stop? When is the change going to stop? And my answer is always, it's never going to stop. It's just on an exponential scale. You know, we often think that the world flows through these massive, global, disruptive forces. That's how change happens. My belief is that change happens through inches. 8 months ago to this day, there was a bullet in space. 1 inch to the left, 1 inch to the right. I would argue we actually wouldn't be in this situation where we are right now. There would be no tariffs. There would not be an attack on the sovereignty of this nation, which, by the way, I find incredibly disrespectful. But this is the true nature of how change works. It doesn't work by just these massive global forces. It happens in inches. And guess what? You can't predict what's going to happen from a massive global disruption. You can't predict what the next technology is going to be, and you can't predict what's going to happen in inches either. So how do you prepare? My belief is that the only way to prepare is to embrace the darkness, is to embrace the uncertainty. The darkness is not your enemy, it's your friend, it's your testing ground. It's like, how do we become nimble and flexible and innovative? How do we become innovative as an organization? A lot of people ask me, so what is innovation? What is innovation to you, Shawn? Well, I'll tell you what innovation is not. Innovation is not some nerdy kids in a basement doing some stuff. It's not a shiny new object that we put out into the market. It's not these really cool guys with hipster glasses and skinny jeans going in a boardroom and coming up with an idea. That's not what innovation is. And a very small part of innovation is this. People think that innovation is all about how do we create new revenue, new products, new savings, new tech, all this stuff. These are the outcomes of innovation. This is a very small part of innovation. What innovation actually is, it's about your identity. It's asking the question, are you truly willing to be the innovator? Are you truly willing to suffer? Because this is what it looks like to be an innovator. This is the graph of an innovator. You have to ask the question, are you willing to look like a joke? Innovation is about creating value in new ways. And the reason why I fell in love with this subject is I believe that anybody in the organization can do it. It's actually beautiful. You know, I was working with a bank a couple years ago, and the bank executive stopped me. He said, okay, Shawn, you talked about innovation, but you know, at our company, we need people to think, but we need most people to do the work. We can't just get everybody to think all these crazy ideas. We need people to do the work.
Thank you for your presentation. Already, as I was listening to it, I had some ideas that we could implement in our team.
Great.
But my question is really that you can't just have freaks and geeks. You've got to have a lot of people who actually do the work. And so, could you talk about that diversification to have in the team, and having a few people who are thinking out of the box, and then having people who also follow what the instructions are?
You know, I actually disagree with you. To go off and innovate, actually, that's everyone's job. And I said, you've lost the plot. Innovation is the work. Innovation is a mindset. Somebody from the payroll group came up to me and said, my job is to pay everyone every 2 weeks. That's my job. I can't innovate. I said, if your job is to pay someone every 2 weeks, then you need another job. What the role of payroll is all about, how do we create and serve people? How do we create a great employee experience? How do we provide this information to our organization so that they can make better decisions? How do we come to work and figure out how we can make technology make this process easier? It's asking questions every single day that will create value for the organization. That's what innovation is all about. And if you stop asking questions, then that is the day that you should retire. Innovation is coming to work every single day and saying, how can I create value? It's a mindset at the end of the day. Thank you so much. Like I said, connect with me. I'm more than happy to send all the tools. I know we have some questions as well. There's some mic runners, and they're going to be running around with a mic if you have questions. And I would love to. We got a question right here. Mic runner over there. There you go. Round of applause. For the first question, by the way.
Right, look at him run. Look at that go. Look at him go. Yeah, sure.
I was just wondering, the ideas, like when you said that you and your son were designing this game, and you might not know the answer to this, but do these AI programs, will they duplicate? Like, will it give me the same game as it gave you, or do we know that?
When it comes to this generative AI, agentic AI, the beautiful thing is that it's just like human beings, where we're always like creating a remix. We're copying, we're pasting, we're seeing what's happening around the world, and we're creating a unique output, a new remix. The thing with generative AI is that it's not deterministic, meaning it can't actually create something that's exactly what you want or the exact same thing. That's why a lot of organizations are not using it, because they need some accuracy in their data. So it's not going to create the exact output, but it can give you a starting point. Like AI is going to get you 70% there, 80% there. I mean, the real work is doing that last 20 to 30%. And so even though it's not going to get there, and a lot of people are like, oh, AI can't recreate the entire Airbnb website, it can't recreate the entire Airbnb business, this sucks. I mean, I think our expectations have become wild. The fact that you can do this today is incredible. The fact that you can text and get some of this stuff is nuts. As an example of this, like over a decade ago, I had my own mobile app development firm. We created all these different apps, and I'd have to hire developers and designers and UI person and a tester and a QA people, and it would have cost me, over 6 figures and months and months and months to do. And today, you can just put a text together and get something back. And to me, this is incredible. So it's not going to be exact, and then it's not going to be perfect, and you may not even like the first thing, but keep at it, keep working at it, and it's not only going to get better, but you're going to see opportunities as well. So I appreciate that. Another question? Do we have another question here? Okay, right here. Listen, the mic runner. Okay, we have some. He's running fast. Wow. Okay, we got it.
As a fellow dad, how do you perceive teaching kids within that friction, non-friction framework? How can education adjust to provide enough AI to their understanding of it,
yeah,
but enough understanding that their value is also in the
it's funny because I get this question a lot, and I have no idea. I don't have the answer because this game is changing so quickly. The only thing that I want from my kids has nothing to do with this AI stuff. It has nothing to do with technology. I don't care for them to build the capabilities around this for years. My biggest thing for my kids is like, I want them to have grit and resilience, learn how to fail, look people in the eye, learn how to make a friend, learn how to have a relationship with others. To me, that core skill set is the most important skill set in the world. They're already growing up native to this AI world. They're already growing up thinking that Alexa and Siri is going to get stuff done for them. Get this report done for me, Siri. That's already native to them. I'm not worried about this technology piece for them because that's going to be intuitive. They're generation AI. But what I'm worried about for us is actually developing the skill sets around these tools. And actually, it's incredibly easy. Like I showed you, like it's just come up with an idea and work with it, talk through it with it. So when it comes to my kids, I'm more rooted around like how do we build grit, resilience, imaginative, creative human beings, good human beings at the end of the day. That friction piece to me is like amazing. And to me, innovation is 90% psychological and then 10% technological. Meaning, innovation is about understanding humans. Innovation is finding opportunities in how people think and behave, and you can only do that by understanding humans more deeply. So I'm not worried about the tech for my kids. When it comes to schools, yeah, I would hope that they showcase and they enable that you can use these tools in a better way. But when it comes to the education system, which I'm not an expert in, I'm not an economist, and I'm not educated. Okay, I'm not sure, but I hope that the more that we have these conversations, the more that we can realize that the world is changing. And then we need a different mindset as we move into the future. And that's what I hope. The conversation is always going to be moving. So I appreciate that question. Maybe one last question? 4 minutes? Okay, one last question. You got the last one. I'm having fun, but. Okay.
As somebody that uses AI pretty often, something that I've been personally struggling with is just the ethics of using AI, between generative AI and not knowing where the information is coming from,
yeah,
as well as the environmental impact of further AI data centers and the amount of energy needed to run them. Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, absolutely. There are, just like the privacy question, there are absolute ethical considerations when it comes to leveraging AI. The first piece, when it comes to where they're getting the data from, to break it down, what the AI is essentially doing, it's going through this process known as pre-training. When you build the large language model, it's going through a process of pre-training. It's taking a look at all the information that we've collected, mainly on the internet, throughout human history. It's collecting that information. It's not storing it, it's just looking at it. And then what it's doing, it's going through a process called inference. It's creating a unique output based on the patterns that it learns in that particular training. It's creating a unique remix. That's the process of what it's doing. What humans do, when we come up with a new idea, a new recipe, a new innovation, a new app, a new website, whatever we're doing, what we also do is we take a look at everything that we've experienced, and then that's pre-training. Then when we're prompted, we create a new remix. And my belief is that innovation has always been about copying, pasting, remixing. That is what AI is doing. It's just doing faster than us. So I don't believe that anybody is original. I don't think any idea on the planet is original. It's just a remix. It's copying and pasting and adding a 3% difference, and that's what we're doing all the time. So that's the process when it comes to innovation. Now, copyright infringement, plagiarizing, those things I think are, we need regulation. We need those, we need those safeguards in place. When it comes to the power piece, that is a big consideration. You're absolutely right. These large language models, every time we use them, they take an incredible amount of compute power. The one beautiful thing is that the cost of doing this is going exponentially lower. I'm not sure if you saw this news known as DeepSeek. This Chinese startup came out of nowhere last month, took the world by storm, took the whole stock market down, especially the AI companies, because they came up with this incredible innovation. This idea that you can create a model for exponentially cheaper. And actually that same exercise has been replicated by many other universities, showcasing that you may not need all this power to create this incredible technology. The other thing I would say to that is that this is an incredible opportunity for Alberta, because we are the leaders globally when it comes to this energy space. And I know that the world will need more energy. So how do we play a factor in this particular space? I think it's going to be incredibly exciting. So that's what I say to that, but I appreciate the question. Listen, I'm humbled and honored to be here. I live in the city. I'm from Edmonton. And I want to live in this city for the rest of my life. I want my kids to live here too. I think this is the greatest place to live in the world. But the only way that we're going to create a prosperous society is, I believe, that we need to continue to innovate, not only as organizations, but as individuals. And let's continue making this the greatest place to live in the world. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Shawn.
Thank you.
Shawn,
That was fantastic.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank
can
you
I
so
tell
much.
you what my favorite part was?
Yes, please.
Like to the core of my being.
Yeah.
Bring back the friction between humans.
Love that.
And do the work and be connected and care deeply.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm afraid for the kids that are growing
Yeah.
up, not knowing how to do that, being scared to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So,
and that to me is like I said, the most important skill set moving
Yeah.
forward. And I'm not worried about this AI
You're
stuff.
the only one today, after everybody talking, I was like, I need to go up and tell you I would like to be friends.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
we
I'm
wanna hang
ready.
out,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Thank
Okay,
you.
Great.
Absolutely.
And you live in Edmonton? I'm like,
I do.
Sweet. Like, you have a new friend.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you. I'm so glad that it resonated and you got some good ideas out of it. And yeah, the friction piece. To me, when I do the AI piece, I always want to double down on the the humanity piece, because I think people get caught up in like, oh, you can do this thing, you can friction, you can just technology, just use
Automate
technology for
every little
everything.
aspect of it.
But the friction piece is gonna be way more important in this AI world. It's like, my wife was asking me last night. She's like, okay, so like in this AI world, what's gonna be like super important? What businesses are gonna be important? I'm like, all the businesses where you need like trust, relationships, advisory, connection, experience, moments, those are gonna have a boom. Because that's what people are craving for. And I feel like we can automate all that other stuff and then like get back to, being human again. So I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I'm gonna give you a hug. I'm gonna give you a hug. Okay.
Like, bless your heart for that.
Thank
like,
you. Appreciate it.
that motivates me to be alive.
I love that. Oh my God. Thank you so much. That
Yeah.
made my day.